Okay, everybody, this is page 3 of your Unit 3 packet, and this is example number 1, straight out of Chapter 13. So let's get right to it. It says, according to a national survey, 71% of millennials are either not engaged or are actively disengaged in the workplace. So remember, national statistics are population proportions. So we have now just been provided with the population proportion P, which we want to convert into a decimal. So this is P equals 0.71. And then we want to search here for N. It says if we were to randomly survey 100 millennials, so that's with jobs, right? Those are the people who we're trying to look at here. So the 100 is N, so N equals 100. And then we have a follow-up question. What is the probability less than 65% of them would not be engaged at work? Okay, so let's answer that later. First, we want to find our normal model, or our sampling distribution model. That comes first. So remind yourself from the notes that that looks something like this. P and then PQ all over N, all underneath the square root, is our standard deviation. So we already know what the mean is. The mean here is 0.71. So before we go ahead and calculate the new standard deviation, let's figure out what Q is. Q is 1 minus P, or 1 minus 0.71. So that means that this is 0.29. So we take our P, we take our Q, and we approach the normal model. We now have 0.71, and then all under one square root, we've got 0.71, Q was 0.29, and N was the 100 millennials that we randomly selected. Now we can go ahead and use our calculator to find the standard deviation here. So I'm just going to jump to the line below, and now we have a normal model where our mean is 0.71 and our standard deviation is 0.0454 if we take it out to 4 decimal places. And now I know I write very large, so I'm going to run off the line of what space you have in the packet. But I find that this is our first example and it's important to write as much as possible. So the follow-up question, now that we have this normal model, so this is now the model. So if anybody asks us for the probability, we now know what our mean and standard deviation are going to be. But we need to interpret the question. So this says, what is the probability less than 65 of the millennials would not be engaged at work? So they're saying, what is the probability that if we sampled 100 people, less than 65% of them would not be engaged? So this right here is the upper bound. They want us to figure out what less than 65% is. So if this is a normal CDF question, because they're asking me for a percentage, and I'm provided with my upper bound, then I need to use negative 1E99 as my lower bound. The proportion, or 65%, which is my upper bound, and then I'm going to replace my mean with the mean from the problem and my standard deviation with the standard deviation from the given problem. And then I can go into my calculator and I can go to second bars, and normal CDF is option number 2. I can go ahead and put this information in, and I get 0.0932 as my answer. Keep on watching. There's one more of these.